Hello, everybody. WeeBrabbit here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 19. Hope everybody is doing good this week. Legend of Jonathan is here, of course. How are you doing, my dude?
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm back. I'm doing good. How about you?
I am doing pretty good. I actually had a pretty busy week, which is, I don't know. I just filled my week with a lot of things. So I think it's kind of interesting. What about you? Did you have a busy week? Was yours kind of eh?
It was kind of
I got you. I got you.
yeah,
But yeah, it happens. Some weeks it's more busy, some weeks it's not. Yeah, I'm just surprised because there's a lot of stuff that I did, and there's even more that I'm not really going to mention because I'm hoping to put videos of them out, soon. Because like I said,
yeah,
there's a lot of games coming out here and there, and I hope to do some like little video one-offs for them here and there. But that's
yeah.
besides the point, though. People will see that hopefully in the future. But yeah, as always, I don't know if you're ready. I know you had kind of a mad week, but you want to just kind of tell people what you did, regardless?
Yeah. So
All right,
obviously, I didn't
cool.
really have that much. Last time I had talked about how I played Kakarot and how I was doing the DLC and trying to wrap up the main story. Thankfully, this time around, I finished the main story and the first half of the first DLC because it's split into two different characters. That's why.
Hmm.
Um, so thankfully I beat the Majin Buu arc, and then I beat the first half where I played as Goku and I beat Beerus. Afterwards, there's nothing else for you to do. From there, you can just train all you want and then fight Beerus later, like at a higher level or whatever. Um, Vegeta, I didn't have that much success, unfortunately. So I'm still working on that. But yeah, I liked the game. I think it was pretty good. What I think is kind of dumb is that with, like I told you, since they've added a lot of more stuff to the game to kind of like make ends meet with like the plot, because a lot of people, they always have theories, and then people always have like questions and a bunch of stuff about certain stuff. This was kind of like the game to kind of like answer all those questions and everything.
Hmm.
Um, what I think is kind of dumb is that from the Saiyan saga all the way to the Cell saga, there's a lot of filler stuff and side quests that answers a lot of like questions that are important, and they kind of are like canon and whatnot. What I think is kind of dumb is that by the Majin Buu arc, they really just go downhill from there, and they just don't give a shit. Like they just give zero shits, and so basically the plot and everything, it's exactly almost the same as the original Majin Buu arc, and so you basically just go through the fights like nothing. And then even then you can say, oh, well, maybe there is like, side quests and stuff, but it doesn't even tell you anything. In the other sagas, it always gives you an option to do side quests. Here it just throws you into the next plot point.
Hmm.
So that's the thing where it gets kind of weird where, you're like, oh, well, I get like it makes you go from one plot point to another. You just kind of beat the game like nothing. With Cell and the Sand Saga and all that stuff, it's like it gives you side quests. It tells you, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Here's this character you can talk to. There's this character you could play as, and you could do a side quest.
So it
You can
felt like
co
more open, more free to kind of do what you want in whatever order you want.
Yeah, early on more. That's what I'm getting at.
And then like,
Later,
near the end, they kind of just bottleneck it where it's just like, no,
we'll just keep
here's
it.
thing after thing
Yeah.
after thing. That's
Hmm.
weird.
That's what I didn't like. And then what's stupid is that if you've read the manga and then you watch the anime, which I know you watch the anime, yeah, you know that Goten and Trunks they fight in the tournament, and that is, part of the manga as well. That's a canon thing. What's stupid is that they allow you to play as Goten for like 1 second, and you can never play as him ever again.
Oh, that's really stupid.
That's stupid. And you know what's a stupid side quest that they give you for like 2 seconds? It doesn't even count because you don't get anything out of it. It's literally um that Goten and Trunks they're trying to get a present for their moms, but they can't because apparently that they're in trouble and blah blah blah. And it's super dumb because they give you like 2 seconds. And then they get in trouble, and that's the end of it. So it's like
That's
really, yeah.
weird.
And then it's dumb because Trunks is not playable at all. Like the kid Trunks, he's not playable at all. But it's dumb because when you're about to go to confront Super Boo and Piccolo, Goten, and Trunks they join your party, it's stupid because it allows you to customize It allows you to customize, quote unquote, customize Trunks's moveset, but you can't even customize it. Neither can you customize Goten's, even though it gives you an option to do it. But on the left, it says you can't even change the party members. It's super dumb.
Yeah, it is really weird. It really is like they just had like a lot of ideas, and then like later they just got kind of lazy and just kind of like,
Yeah.
unless one of the future DLCs they do plan to like bring them back, but knowing what
Hmm.
the DLC is supposed to be, I kind of doubt it. You know what I mean? From what we've
Yeah, I doubt
heard,
it too.
that's
It's
so
just
weird, man.
it's so dumb. And then the thing too is that like, okay, maybe it was my fault. Maybe I was supposed to go off wherever, and maybe I fight an enemy somewhere else, and that allows you to like level up as Go 10 or whatever. But then it's pointless because you can't even do anything after that. It's only one moment you get to play as him, and then afterwards you can't do anything with him ever again.
Yeah, there's some games that just do that, where for some reason, like, you'll be excited and they'll let you play as a character for like a little section, like that's it. And that literally
Yeah,
is it. And it's just like,
yeah.
why even like do it? It doesn't make sense. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like it's not like, oh, it's because we're introducing a character or whatever. It's like, oh yeah, here's this character you guys already know. And I know you guys are excited to play as him because you get to play, you should be allowed to play as him. No, you can't play as him. So it's just super dumb, yeah. And outside of that though, I thought it was pretty cool. There's a part where they added an exclusive fight between what's it called? Majin Buu and Goku, but it's like slow down. Like everything around them is just completely stopped. And it's cool because like the point is, I guess that's supposed to be hinting that Goku, he has Ultra Instinct and stuff. And you know how you can move like really quick and whatnot. So I guess
Mhm.
that's a hint, like saying, hey, that Goku's at his peak to the point that he kind of like stopped time for like, however long he needed to. But it was
That's kind of fun,
super.
at least. That sounds kind of fun,
Yeah,
yeah.
because then from there you get to fight yes, Kid Buu, but like the Chala Hedgehog music's playing,
Hmm.
and that's a pretty cool fight. But since I was like really overpowered, like I said, I could just breeze through the fights like nothing by that point.
Mm. Yeah, sometimes being a little too powered up can kind of ruin it because sometimes like, the pacing gets
Hmm.
kind of weird, or yeah, I know what you mean. Like the moments they just kind of pass too quick, or I can't see what you
Yeah,
mean.
and but yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I liked the DLC. I liked the game. Obviously, I may be doing like a side quest and everything, but I hope this new DLC that's gonna come out, the Tenkaichi Budokai one. I hope it's going to be really good because it seems like yeah, it's going to be pretty different from like the usual gameplay because if we know that yeah, in the original Dragon Ball they didn't really use flying or any of that stuff. So here, we know that they're going to be fighting on the like ground, and so that's what I'm looking forward to. Other than Kakarot, I'll just leave it at that. I did read this manga but that I'll give the hint that it is the topic of this like week. So, I'm not gonna talk about it, but that is the hint that yeah, I did read it and that it is the topic. I will mention that.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Then we will see that at the end, obviously. But
Yeah.
all right. So it seems like yeah, like you said, not too much happened. Just a little bit of reading here and there, a bit of playing, Kakarot or whatever. But it happens. Sometimes there's weeks where not too much happens. But yeah, hopefully in the future, going forward. I know we had already talked about some stuff made for you to watch. Same thing that we could talk about on the podcast. So, maybe you'll have some busier weeks going forward. That's fine.
Yeah.
Alrighty, cool, cool, cool. Jumping over to my week then. I did quite a few things. Some of them, like I said, have to do with games that I don't really want to talk about because I'm hoping to do little one-offs of them. We'll see how that goes though, because I have been busy with like work and other stuff, but I'll hopefully try to find some time. When it comes to stuff I am going to talk about though, the first thing that I did that I was pretty excited because it kind of sucks when it's monthly releases, but that's the way it's worked out for quite a bit now. Is I
Yeah.
read the second chapter of the JOJOLands,
Let's
which is
go.
the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 9. I was talking about it last time, about a month ago, and yeah, it kind of sucks that the guy, the mangaka, he only releases a chapter every like month now. That's just the way it works because he's part of a different publication. But
Hmm.
still, though, chapter 2 is pretty cool. Without really spoiling too much, I guess all I really want to say is that it continues to be very interesting. They introduced the fact that our main character, Jodio, he is apparently a sociopath.
Oh, damn.
Like legit, he talks about a part where he gets diagnosed at school he's a sociopath, and so I think that's gonna be very interesting because, as I kind of described last time, the whole thing is like a heist story about
Yeah.
him and his sister, or not sister, him and his brother and some friends, if you can call them that, that they're gonna steal a diamond from somebody.
Oh,
And it's all
damn.
about how, like, JoJo says that he's all about, the making money. That's his mindset to, like, go further in life. And it's
Yeah.
really interesting because every JoJo, even if they have like a bit of an attitude, they're a bit rough around the edges, at their core, they're all good people. Like they all like
Yeah.
help people. Even like Jotaro, who's kind of like a dick to his mom, we do see that he cares for his mother. It's just that he's kind of, doesn't know how to express his feelings, maybe. And then same thing with Giorno, even though he is trying to get to be part of the mafia, he still wants to like not have drugs be peddled to kids. And when there's like a janitor that gets killed near the beginning of the story, he like gets revenge for that janitor because he saw a janitor as like an innocent person that always worked really hard or whatever. He always, all of them,
Yeah.
they have kind of like a good core. This time though, they haven't really shown him protect anybody except like himself and his immediate family, most like his
Yeah.
brother is what we've seen. So it'll be really interesting to see, like, does this guy have a goodness to him? Because so far we haven't really seen it. And if he's a sociopath, it'll be very interesting to follow a character who isn't really like a good person. And I don't know if maybe he'll become like a better person along the way, maybe he'll learn, I don't know. But it's a very different like dynamic from the usual thing that we see, with the JoJo. So that's very interesting.
Hmm.
Then another thing is that we saw more of their powers, continues to be pretty interesting. We finally saw the power of the fourth member that joined their little group. He is this guy that a lot of people, they just call him Pink Guy because he reminds them of the famous YouTuber that he would wear like a little onesie.
Yeah.
So it kind of reminds people of that. But
Dubsy or whatever that weird dude's name
yeah,
was.
whatever that dude's name was, I always forget. I always just remember the Pink Guy persona. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then they finally showed that guy, his name is actually Usagi Aloha or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because people are already kind of trying to speculating. In a lot of the art, they showed a rabbit,
Oh, what the heck?
and people are saying like,
I
I don't know,
remember that. I remember that.
yeah, I was just to hear the rabbit or what. But the fact this guy's name is Usagi, that's rabbit. It's like, oh, how is he
Hmm.
gonna like maybe play a part to this? And yeah, we saw a stand. It's called Mate Kudasai, which is actually
Yeah.
in Spanish, which is funny. I mean, sorry, it's Spanish, god dang it, which is Japanese. I was stupid.
Bruh.
Spanish. Which is actually Japanese. And that's the first time that stand is, in a different language, because they always get translated to the name of like a song in English. But it is a song by a rock band. And basically it means, I think, like wait please or something like that. I don't know why. And it's
Yeah.
weird because basically he can't wish for something himself, but if he tells somebody like, hey, wish for something, and in the story Dragona says, okay, I wish for like a camera or something like that, and then he like makes the little robot like pop out of his hand, it merges with the camera that was already on site where they're gonna rob, and it
Oh,
creates like a
wow.
duplicate camera that basically, while one camera's recording what's actually happening, the other one's recording like an alternate, almost like alternate universe. Like they look different and what they're doing is totally different. And so
Yeah.
supposedly it's supposed to like throw the cops off because there's like conflicting evidence or something like that. I don't really know how it's gonna work. But
Yeah.
it was really weird what his power does. Or apparently like it's based off of people wishing. It's like wish fulfillment, but it can't be him that wishes for it, which is weird.
Down.
So we'll see how that works. That's like a very, very strange power. And yeah, so basically it shows that they arrived to the location of the person they're going to rob. They're there to rob a diamond and they're making their plan. And I'm not going to like spoil it, but when they see who the person is that's actually hanging out there, people had been guessing a few ideas of who it might be. They were thinking it might be a recurring character from part 7. And no, it ends up being a recurring character, but it's from an earlier part. And
Oh,
that's where I'll leave it
damn.
for now. And we're gonna have to see what the implications of that are. But that's where I'm gonna leave it for now. Maybe as we go forward, I'll spoil obviously. But for now, I'm just gonna say it's very interesting because you see the reappearance of someone that you wouldn't expect because they're from one of the earlier parts. And I'll just leave it at that.
Damn.
But yeah, so far it's really good. It's like really well
It's
written.
Speedwagon. I'm kidding.
I wish the people best waifu. But yeah, it's just really interesting so far. Really well drawn, really well written, very interesting. Definitely has that like mystery factor so far, where a lot of people are just like speculating what's going to happen. So far, it's been pretty fun. And like I said, it kind of just sucks. You have to wait like a month between releases, but at least when he releases it, it is a few pages each chapter. Because when they do
Yeah.
weekly, sometimes it'll only be like a few pages, like really short. At least each chapter is kind of meaty. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to continue to read the JOJOLands. It's pretty cool. I'm really enjoying it.
Nice.
The another thing I want to talk about is something I watched, and it's not an anime or anything like that, which is usually this type of thing I talk about. It's actually a live action show, but it was something I had been wanting to watch for a while, and I had kind of put it on my mind, like, to-do list. I'll watch that later, and then forgot about it. But
Yeah.
I finally sat down. I watched out of the 3 seasons, I watched the first season and half of the second season, and I am talking about a show called Future Man that is on Hulu.
Down.
And Future Man, I'll just read the description real quick. So it says a janitor, Josh Futerman. So that's where it's like, Futerman, like Future Man, a little bit of
Yeah.
pun. This is a janitor, Josh Futerman, successfully completes his favorite video game that was considered unbeatable, Biotic Wars. When suddenly the game's two main characters, Tiger and Wolf, appear and recruit Josh to save the world from the real Biotic Wars. Josh and his companions travel through time to change the future. And so yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's kind of like a love letter to a lot of sci-fi and adventure action stuff. Like literally, sometimes the main character he calls it out, like, "Oh, this reminds you of like the last Starfighter, where like a video game is meant to recruit you." Like sometimes they directly point it out, and
Yeah.
sometimes there's stuff that happens that's not directly pointed out, but it reminds you of stuff you've seen, like The Matrix and Back to the Future, stuff like that. So it's really interesting. It really feels like a love letter to a bunch of those like different like shows and like, series and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because, as it says, it's about this janitor. He's kind of a loser until he gets recruited to save the world. And it has a few famous people in it. The main character is Josh Hutcherson, who came out as PETA in the Hunger Games. And, he came out in a bunch of stuff before that when he was younger. He came out in those
RV.
Journey to like the Center of the Earth movie and Mysterious
RV.
Island or whatever. He's came out a lot of stuff. You'd have to like look him up if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Josh Hutcherson mostly he's known for playing PETA, and that was like his biggest role. So he comes out as the main character, and then there's a
Hmm.
lot of recurring characters like Keith David. He actually comes out as this professor that he creates basically the problem that's the whole reason they're time traveling, and so he's like the guy that he needs to kill. But Josh doesn't want to kill him because he like knows him and he knows that he's like a good guy, and so that's kind of where a lot of like the first part the first few episodes, like that's kind of like the plot. Like he's trying to convince these guys from the future that are total like crazy. They're from a future where they have like nothing and they're like really like they're happy to kill. You know what I mean? Like they're really crazy. And he's trying to
Hmm.
convince them, like, no, we don't need to kill him. We just need to find like an alternate way to like stop him and like change the plan so it doesn't like happen, stuff like that. So yeah, so Keith David is the guy he needs to kill. And then Haley Joel Osment is actually a recurring antagonist.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah, it's the Sora himself. He's the recurring antagonist. That he is a doctor guy that works there with Keith David, and he's like always a dick to Josh. And he's like a recurring antagonist who like causes different problems and stuff if you watch the show. So it's pretty interesting that yeah, there's like a few famous people that come out. Aquafina comes out in the first few episodes. She works at like the video game store where Josh like got his video game or whatever. She's hanging
Yeah.
around. Yeah, just a few famous people here and there has come out. And like I said, it's a pretty interesting show, pretty cool. Has a good blend of like comedy and over the top violence. And like I said, it's kind of a love letter to different sci-fi and action shows and stuff. And I've really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I think it's really interesting. I think it's an easy watch, and I've enjoyed it. I think it's pretty fun.
Nice.
And yeah, I know that it had 3 seasons. I know it came out from like 2017 to like 2020. You know what I mean? It came out for like a while, each
Yeah.
season like once a year or whatever. And it's pretty good. And I'm really impressed with Josh Hutcherson because, it's not like he hasn't been like the main character and stuff before, but the fact that he's carrying this series where like a lot of it has to do with him kind of making fun of himself and like being lame or whatever, but like he kind of like grows along the way. He does a really good job, honestly. And he's actually pretty good at, like the comedy and stuff, because that's like a lot of like dark comedy and a lot of like really like raunchy stuff, and he does a really good job with it
Yeah.
too. So like, that's pretty cool. He really is a good leading man or whatever. So that's interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm gonna continue to watch that. Like I said, I'm about halfway through the series. I definitely want to finish it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that I have been playing something lately that there's a friend I have that he really likes this game. And so he said I should like try it out. And I had tried it out when it first came out. When it first came out, I think I even did like a one-off on the channel of like the little prologue part. But then I hadn't really played it since. But then this friend, he's like, oh, you should like get back into it. You should play it. It's like really interesting. It's like really deep. So lately, I've been playing a bit of Genshin Impact.
Damn.
Yeah, and I gotta admit, I on the one hand, I don't like that it is very, has a lot of gotcha mechanics, or it is always trying to like convince you, like, oh, there's like new characters you can pull for, and there's different weapons, and buy and spend money to like
In-game
upgrade your
currency.
characters, all that stuff. And like the gotcha is even worse because you don't even buy the characters outright. You basically just pay for a random chance of seeing if you get a character, you know what I mean?
Oh, okay, yeah, I
Yeah, sounds like
know.
the whole
There's a lot of
gotcha
games that
thing.
have that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like collecting characters by lottery almost. So it is
Hmm.
it is annoying that it has that. But the good news is that you really can play it without doing any of that though. Like the game is
Nice.
so big and has so much going on that you really could play it without really doing any of that. Like I have not spent any money on it so far. Um and I already have my because there's like an overall adventure level, and then you can level each of your characters up as well.
Yeah.
I've leveled up quite a few of my characters to level 40, which I think the most you can do is like 100, I think. But still, 40 is pretty good. That's like the second tier. So I've, done all the way to level 20. Then there's like a little barrier. Then you have to like collect some items, and then you can like upgrade them even further, level 40. So I've done a bunch of them to like second tier. And then adventure level, I've gone to like level 23, which isn't too bad. Because as along the way, as you're like upgrade your adventure level, that unlocks like different dungeons and areas within the world. So I would say I'm like a few hours into it, and I've been doing pretty good. And I haven't used any real money so far.
Awesome.
And yeah, it really is just a pretty interesting game because there's just full of a lot of like quests, and there's a lot to do, and there's just a whole huge world to explore. A lot of people would compare it kind of to like Breath of the Wild a little bit, kind of how the
Oh
world
yeah,
works.
the way it starts off literally looks like Breath of the Wild.
I would say it kind of feels like it too, because literally like anything you see
Hmm.
in the distance, you can like run over there and climb it and scale the mountains. And then if once you're really high up, you can like jump off with your glider, and that gives you access to
Hmm.
wherever else you land and stuff. So it does remind me of Breath of the Wild in that sense. And yeah, it's just like really big. Like the areas, maybe when you first start, maybe it's like a smaller area, but then it's like I said, as soon as you start leveling up, like what is given to you is really huge, where you have like all these different parts of the map. And as you level up, you can say, oh, there's a part still red, like over here in the edge, but that should probably open up once I level up even more. And yeah, there's definitely like beach areas and water areas and forest areas and desert areas and all sorts of stuff. You know what I mean? I'm not even that far into it. I know where my friend's at. He is in this totally different area because the game's had like updates along the way. And I know he's
Yeah.
like in some totally different area that I haven't even like seen yet. I haven't seen a glimpse of it yet. The story is all right. It's very anime-ish. It's about I don't even know what I did that finished the prologue, which is pretty long. Something about some dragon that was under the influence of like darkness, and you're trying to free it or whatever. And
Kingdom
honestly,
Hearts.
I don't really pay too much attention to the story. I kind of just have it on my second monitor muted, and I'll be like watching something. Like I was watching Future Man as I was playing, so I'm like paying more
Damn.
attention to Future Man. And the game, I'm just like grinding away and like fighting and stuff. I mean, I don't really pay too much attention to the story, but the story is like this huge thing about how it's a world of magic and there's issues, and you're helping all these different areas with the issues that are befalling them or whatever. Typical
Yeah.
animals, typical anime stuff.
Of
Story
light
wise,
and
not
darkness.
a lot of talking. I don't really pay attention to it. But the gameplay's pretty cool. You have different characters. Each of them have their own moves. Each of them have their own element. And you want to like have a team of people with different elements. That way you can like chain their attacks together and stuff. So I don't know. I've been really enjoying it. Like I said, even though it does have gotcha mechanics, you don't necessarily have to like buy into them if you don't want to. You can, from what I've seen, I've gone pretty far and I've been playing and I've been fine. I guess it just kind of like depends on like, oh man, a really strong character. Maybe you might want to drop a bit of money to see if you get them, but it's not like necessary from what I've seen.
Nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen some people who like will like tell me from like school because I've seen some kids they'll play like Genshin Impact. They'll be like, "Yeah, I spent like almost like the whole bank account on like the game," and I'm
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Bro,
like
what
that
the?"
friend I'm telling you about, he said he had spent like 5,000, I think, on
Oh
it.
yeah, no, I think I had a feeling because that you had told me about him. I was thinking, I'm like, is this the same friend that like he like spent a bunch of money on the game? I was about to ask, but I'm like,
Yeah,
nah,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, it's just like, oh my god. Some people they just have nothing better to do and they don't care about wasting their money on stuff. So he spent like a whole bunch of money. But me, I don't really want to. And like I said, I don't really need it so far. I feel like I'm fine. It's just I don't
yeah.
know. Alrighty, but that's it for my week. As you can see, been busy with a lot of stuff that takes a while too. Like Genshin Impact and Future Man, each of those is like a big amount of time, a big time sink. So a lot of
Yeah.
that went to that. But yeah, there you go. That is my week, and I've enjoyed myself so far. And like I said, hopefully I finish Future Man, and hopefully I dive into some of those games that I'm able to show up on the channel. So yeah.
Nice.
Alrighty, moving on to the news. We have three different news stories. Each of them have to do with gaming this time, and they're all interesting in their own ways. The last one's a bit of a doozy too. Oh man, we get to that one. I think you already
Yeah.
know what I told you about it. Oh boy. But yes, the first story I'm really excited about because I feel like this just came out of nowhere. But as the title of the article states, this is from about 2 or 3 days ago. Persona 5 The Phantom X announced for iOS and Android.
Yeah,
And
that
then the
sounds
little
very
thing right
random.
under it says a full-fledged Persona 5 game for mobile platforms. Now, that last part, I don't know how I'm too excited for. Whenever you hear that something's going to be only on mobile, that part does kind of suck because honestly, everybody prefers a game that's an actual game on a console. Obviously, there's just a little
Yeah.
bit of like an about it being on mobile. However, some people have pointed out this game is very strange because where do I even start? I'll just read more of the story so people kind of see what I'm talking about. So it says right here,
Yeah.
first paragraph. It says, following a teaser announcement back in April 2021, publisher Perfect World Games and developer Blackwing Games Studio have officially announced Persona 5 The Phantom X for iOS and Android. A release date was not announced, but it will be free-to-play title with item-based in-app purchases. Currently, a release has only been confirmed for China. Now,
Damn.
that's the part that all of this is where it's kind of a weird story. So it is a Chinese game that originally it wasn't even announced as a Persona project. It was just called Phantom X,
Oh
but it
wow.
has since then become a Persona project. So that's weird. And then
Yeah.
what some people pointed out, because people are like, oh, only China and only like Android and iOS, do you think it'll ever leave China? Do you think it'll ever be on anything besides mobile? Some people have been pointing out, which is interesting that I was just talking about it. I believe Genshin Impact was the same thing, where it originally started as only Chinese and it was only on mobile, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the fact that something like Genshin Impact was big enough that it came worldwide and it got off of mobile, it's now on like basically everything except, well, actually no, it's been announced for Switch, hasn't happened yet. Xbox they've never mentioned, but the fact that it is on PS4, PS5, PC, mobile, etc. I mean, it seems like it really has grown. It really has spread quite far. So a lot of people are
Yeah.
saying that could happen with this game if we're lucky. Like, will it leave China for sure? Probably. If it's big enough, I see no reason why not. As for the mobile part, people are saying, hey, maybe if it's big enough, maybe we'll see it on something else one of these days.
That's true. Yeah.
But aside though, let's say it does stick to just Android devices, right? Let's say it
Yeah.
leaves China, but unfortunately it's still Android devices. The good thing is that people have been pointing out, based on like the screenshots for this game and based on like Persona in general, Persona isn't really a technical heavy game. Like if you
It's
think
not.
about the game, I mean it's turn-based, so it is like very like there's not a lot happening on screen usually at once. All of its cutscenes are using like anime cutscenes, so it's not like it's using like these crazy renders, like processing power. The only thing that maybe would take a little bit more work is when you're like on the overworld sometimes. But even then, they cut a lot of corners when you're on the overworld where you'll see that people in the distance, they look just kind of like silhouettes and stuff, or
Mhm.
they look like like they don't really have too much details. So a lot of people are pointing out the Persona games, even like the newest one, part 5, Persona 5, it's not that technical heavy, honestly. So that combined with the screenshots we have of this new game, it looks really nice. Like there's some areas they show and they look as good as stuff we've seen in Persona 5. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of sharing it with you right now. Do you see that right here where it shows the city?
No, no, yeah, I see it. Yeah.
Or like right here, where it shows them at the park and stuff.
That's what I'm
Like, tell
saying. Yeah, I
me,
can see
doesn't
it.
this stuff look as good as some of the stuff we've seen in Persona 5? And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a phone can handle it. I don't think it's like that complicated if you look at it. Look at
Oh
it.
yeah, no, because last time when we were talking about what's the name of that one? Missing Link.
Yeah.
The gameplay literally was the exact same where it was on a 3D overworld, and it looked like the graphics were at least like PS3 or PS4.
Like, it
So
didn't
like,
look
that's
that
the thing.
bad. Yeah.
It didn't look that bad. Like you could tell that most phones now they can run more stuff like this. So I don't really think it's gonna be that difficult either.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
graphics are pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. So the more I hear about this, the more excited I am, especially more Persona. I mean, I wish we were at the point where we had Persona 6 already, but I don't know, for
Same.
whatever reason, they might be like leading up to it. That's fine, I guess. But the fact that they announced this new Persona project just sounds really cool. And I haven't even really talked about anything about the game yet. I was kind of talking about the background. The main image, it says Persona 5X, and it has a guy with red hair. He has like a red mask similar to Joker's. In fact, he's dressed pretty much a lot like Joker. He has like a big black cloak. Then behind him is a girl with short hair, and she has what I would describe as kind of like a Harley Quinn costume, where it's kind of like a hoodie, but it has kind of like a weird little pointy hat. That's kind of what I would describe it as. Maybe it kind of reminds me a bit of Harley Quinn because like a little pointy hat. It's kind of like jester looking or something.
Mm.
And then the little mascot this time around, it's an owl that looks kind of like Morgana, where it's very cartoony. It has like a
That's what
big
I was gonna
head,
say, yeah.
but it's an owl, and he has we call those tonfa sticks or whatever we call it. Those like sticks that you would see like Daredevil using, for instance, to like fight. And he has like
Yeah.
those like tonfa sticks or whatever.
Nice.
And this particular article that I am going to link, it doesn't have the information here, but I know that I did some digging and there's like more images and stuff that they share where once again kind of same as Persona 5. They're all named after outlaws and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like I don't remember exactly what they were, but they were all I think hers, for instance, her persona has to do with like a lady pirate, and then the main character, his is something that's kind of similar to Robin Hood, where I don't remember what his name is, but if you look it up, it says like, oh yeah, he like stole from like rich noble people or whatever to give to the poor or whatever. So he's similar to Robin Hood. And even the owl too, he's some sort of like a Scottish outlaw or something.
Oh,
So all of them
cool.
once again are following kind of that, Robin Hood-esque, outlaw, give, take from rich and give to poor, whatever. That's kind of like the theme. Similar
Yeah.
kind of to 5, where they were all like outlaws and rebels and stuff. So it looks like it really is following that. And based on what I saw, it's not just these 3 that they show on the cover, even though those are like the main characters. It looks like your crew will be bigger. What's weird is that, yeah, it looks like it's almost like an alternate story happening at the same time as Persona 5, where, yeah, once again, you're just a student that you're living by yourself in Tokyo. Once again, something about like desires and trying to find your place in the world, and you have a gang. And I don't know, a lot of the stuff they do seems similar to what the gang in 5 does, which is really interesting. We'll have to see how that really works out. And at some point, Joker, it looks like he's even going to show up. I don't know if to like stop you or like what his deal is, but it literally looks like it's like happening at the same time ish as Persona 5. And it looks very
Ah,
similar what these people do. It looks very similar because they're in mementos and they're going to different palaces, and your owl, he even turns into a car similar to Morgana. So like I don't know. The fact that it's so similar makes me wonder like what's gonna happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm excited for it. I'm being cautiously optimistic. Sorry, I'm being cautiously optimistic, even if it is, one of those things where it is a mobile game, and we're not even sure if it'll leave Japan. It's Japan. We're not even sure if it'll leave China and stuff. I'm trying to be, positive, and even though it's a mobile game, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, mobile game," and they're kind of like, I don't know, like looking down on it already. I'm still just hoping that, hey, hopefully it's just a fun entry. Hopefully it's a fun spin-off or whatever it has to add to the series. And hopefully if we play it, it's fun. That's all I ask for. So there you go.
Yeah.
The second news story we have, it's funny because this is a game I've actually played on the channel. I think you said you played it as well, right? Did you say you played it?
Yeah, I played a bit of it.
Yeah, so it's actually a game that I played on the channel. I thought it was pretty fun. I just reached a point where I thought it was kind of hard. I was kind of like, this is kind of being my Achilles heel at the moment. Let's see if I ever get back to it. And I never did. But I wanted to see if I might brush it off. I am, of course, talking about, as the title of this article states, Frogun Encore announced for PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. So if anyone doesn't remember, Frogun was the game where you're this little girl. She's dressed in orange. She has like a little explorer's hat, a little hard hat looking thing. It's all about how she's looking for her parents. And she uses this little grappling gun that looks like a frog. And it was really fun. It was definitely reminding me kind of like N64 or maybe like PS1 games where it's like very rudimentary graphics. And it's like, 3D or whatever. And it was like a platformer where you're using the little gun to like attack enemies and, traverse the world or whatever. And I thought it was pretty charming. I thought it was really cool. It really reminded me of, like I said, like old school games. And apparently it's going to get a sequel. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, because what did you say? You said when you played, you said you enjoyed it, right?
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of Glover, the way you go through stuff. Because it's like you don't exactly have
Like total control.
Yeah, well, that, and it's not like the way you attack isn't like the equivalent of like other platformers where it's like you brutally beat your enemies or some weird thing. Here it's more of, oh yeah, you use the grappling hook to attack and it does something and then it allows you to progress. You know what I'm saying? Like it's more cartoony in a sense. And that's the same thing with Glover, where Glover, you have all these guys coming after you, all these like enemies, but you don't exactly fight back brutally. You just kind of throw the ball at them and you just call it a day. You just keep progressing basically.
I think I see what you mean. It's not like Mario where you like stomp on their heads or totally destroy them or
anything.
And
then they like blow up. It's like there's enemies where they get pushed back or it doesn't do anything, but you kind of like, oh well, I guess I beat them, I guess, or like whatever. It's kind of like that, where you just they're just obstacles basically.
Yeah, I think I see what you mean. But yeah, if you guys want to know more about the game, the original one, like I said, you can check out my channel. I did a little one-off on it. Did you stream it or how did you play it? Do you remember?
I didn't have it on my channel. I played it personally, basically.
Oh, I thought maybe you had to show it off at some point. Gotcha.
No,
okay,
no.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys want to see more, you can always look for my channel. Just look up Frogun or whatever it's called. I did like a little one-off of it. Play like the first like 3 or 4 levels or whatever. And yeah, it's a fun little game. Definitely, like I said, nice little callback to that era of PlayStation 1/N64. And yeah, the fact they're making a sequel, which looks like it's going to be even bigger and have more stuff or whatever, that's pretty good. Good for the studio. It's nice that they had a hit that did well, I'm guessing, if they're going to have a sequel, and they're just going to keep going. So good for them. They're called Top Hat Studios. So good for them.
Nice.
Well, actually, hold on. Publisher Top Hat Studios, developer Molgato.
Molgato, yeah.
So good for both of them, I guess, because sometimes the publisher might be smaller, or sometimes the developer.
And they work with that company, yeah.
Yeah, so good for both of them, I guess, is the point, because they're working together. They're getting these games out, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, it just says due out this summer, so I wouldn't be surprised if it got shown during like a Nintendo Direct or something. I could see that happening.
Yeah.
Alrighty, coming up to our last news story. This is the one that's a doozy. Oh my god, it's just so weird. I don't even know why they're doing this. It makes it sound even more of like an embarrassment. It's gonna make it even more looked down upon. As it says here, the Olympics is putting on an esports event without any actual esports games. And if you read a little further down, this is an older story too. It happened like 2 weeks ago, but it's something I want to talk about and forgot. So that's why I brought it up now.
Yeah.
It says microtransaction filled mobile games, a cycling app, and Just Dance headline this June's Olympic Esports Week.
That's so stupid.
So that's right. So for a while, they had kind of mentioned about adding video games to the Olympics. And, it's one of those things where esports is already very iffy, or some people, why does it even have sports in the name? It's not real sports, blah, blah, blah. Even if it's at a competitive level, people still think it shouldn't have sports in the title, which I can kind of see the argument for that. It's one of those things where I get it. Some people still see sports and video games as very different. And so it's kind of true. Why call it, esports? Why not just call it, competitive gaming or something, right? I can kind of see the argument. But it's one of those things where for sure it's always been complicated as is. Now, though, the Olympics is not helping because instead of adding some games that, yeah, sure, maybe they really elevate gaming up to like that level of like athleticism or prestige or whatever, you would think, oh, cool, they're going to be playing stuff that's popular, like, League of Legends, which is played in other countries, or Dota, or maybe stuff that's really popular like Fortnite, or I don't know, other gaming that at least kind of has to do with sports, like I don't know, some sort of racing game or something, or
Wii Sports.
Yeah, at least, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
No, instead, they're gonna have a bunch of lame games that are barely even real games. Like I'm gonna read it right here. So it says you probably won't So I'll read from the top. It says, if you're putting together some kind of Olympic esports event, what games would you feature? Perhaps Dota 2, League of Legends, Counter-Strike. Hell, you could throw in Quake 3 Arena in there and really put on a show worth seeing. It says you probably wouldn't feature such legendary titles as Tic-Tac-Bow, a free-to-play mobile game that released last month and currently enjoys a rating of 1.9 out of 5 on the Google Play Store.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like a very fantastic game, bro. That sounds very fantastic.
Nor would you choose Tennis Clash, whose most recent reviews criticize it for malicious and predatory loot box mechanics.
Oh, that's just bullshit. Of course it's not malicious and predatory.
So that's what I don't understand. So if they're even going to have esports,
why choose those?
Why are they picking apps that are broken and crappy?
They're so stupid.
Like what you said, why didn't they at the very least pick like Wii Sports?
Wii Sports is a literal sports video game.
Like you could have literally picked, okay, we're going to play bowling from Wii Sports. We're going to play golf from it doesn't even, let's say, Wii Sports, no, because maybe they don't want to, something that's exclusive to Nintendo. Okay. Mm-hmm. But I know there's other games out there like golf simulators.
Or Connect. Well, actually, I was going to say Connect Sports, but then maybe, same thing. They don't want to work with Microsoft.
Yeah. So for instance, I know there's like the PGA games, right? Which are like the so why not, for instance, we're going to play like the PGA golf simulator. Or we're going to play, there's probably some other bowling one too. I'm not going to think it was Wii Sports. I know there's probably some other bowling game out there. Or like, why aren't they playing games like that? They're sports-ish, but they're at least real games. And why are they picking these weird bottom-of-the-barrel apps that no one's heard about? It's so weird.
It's old people who just use their phone to play Candy Crush.
It's so weird. Like it says here, the only game that sounds more legit is they're gonna have Gran Turismo as like a racing thing. So I think that's probably the most legit game they have. Then they're gonna have chess via chess.com, so that's fine.
That's fine, yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, yeah.
Then they're gonna have Just Dance, which is where you kind of start to lose me, like Just Dance.
Why Just Dance? Yeah.
I don't know. And then from there, it gets really crappy, like that Tic-Tac-Bow, Tennis Clash, Virtual Regatta, Zwift, which is a indoor cycling app.
That's so stupid.
WBSCE Baseball Power Pros, which is right here, only costs 99 cents on Switch and PS4.
Wow.
So it's so weird because you have some games that sound all right. Like I said, like, Gran Turismo and chess and maybe Just Dance. But then from there, you go to crap that's literally bottom of the barrel. I don't get it. And some people have said, "Oh, I think it's supposed to be because they've said they don't want to do games that have violence in them." Okay, once again, fair enough. But I'm pretty sure, once again, there's stuff like PGA out there. It's like,
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure they have other games out there. There are at least better simulators of some of these sports. Or like I said, why
yeah,
not just do Wii Sports then? In fact, Wii
or
Sports
Switch
makes more sense.
Sports.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
one of the Connect things, because at least it makes sense. Because if it's motion control, then that makes even more sense. Because at least you're actually moving.
you're being physical. Yeah,
But this is how they're choosing to present esports, and it sounds so stupid. Honestly, someone said it sounds almost like it's like a conspiracy to
oh
make
god,
video games look even worse. That way they can be like, "Oh, we tried one year, man, and it went really bad, so never
yeah.
again." It's just
Hmm.
so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised because there's always like people like from different companies and stuff that they always try to find a way to make video games look bad, and it just doesn't work. It never works. And so this could be another opportunity to try to do that probably or something.
Yeah, one of the last sentences, in the last paragraph of the article, it says it all feels like it was pulled out of a hat, producing something that will mystify traditional sports fans and disappoint esports devotees, but perhaps it's a clumsy sign of things to come.
Yeah.
Oh man, so I don't know. I remember I saw this a couple weeks ago and I wanted to talk about it and I forgot. I totally like buried it at some point. So that's why I want to talk about it now because it's
Yo,
just such a weird
yeah.
story. It is just so stupid.
I definitely want to try tic-tac-toe and what's it called? Uh, what the freak was it? A tennis clash? Those sound great, bro.
Yeah,
Those
especially the one
sound,
that has a bunch of loot box stuff for some reason.
yeah. That's the
That's
thing.
great. So pay to win. I wonder if we're gonna have someone pay to win.
That's the thing. It's so stupid.
Oh my god, it's so stupid. Ah, so dumb.
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's enough of that. But yeah, there you go, guys. That's our news stories for the week. As you can see, some are kind of exciting, or at least they're more on the positive side. And that last one is just, it makes you shake your
Stupid.
head. It makes you just not know what the hell's wrong with the world. Oh boy. But there you go, guys. That's it for the news this week. Now, moving on to the last segment of the podcast, we have our topic of the week. As John kind of hinted at earlier, it's a manga that he's been reading and that I have read in the past and been wanting to talk about. So, without further ado, our topic of the week is a manga series called The Way of the Househusband. Now, I don't know if anyone's heard about this before. Hopefully you have. It's been pretty popular. But if you've not heard of Way of the Househusband, I will read a little synopsis and then we'll kind of talk about it here and there, what it's about and what we think of
Yeah.
it. But it says Tatsu, an infamous and feared Yakuza boss nicknamed the Immortal Dragon, retires from crime to become a house husband so that he can support Miku, his Kyaru-man wife, which means that she's a career woman, like a business lady. So this episodic series depicts a variety of comedic scenarios, typically where Tatsu's banal domestic work as a house husband is juxtaposed against his intimidating personality and appearance, and his frequent run-ins with former Yakuza associates and rivals. So yes,
Yeah.
it is a series about a former Yakuza turned house husband that even though he lives a peaceful life now, free of violence and Yakuza illegal activities, he still uses the same passion for his old job in his new lifestyle. And I would say that's where a lot of comedy comes from, right?
Yeah.
Like for instance, well, first just to kind of talk about the characters. So the main character is Tatsu. If you look at the art, he is this guy with the kind of slicked back hair. He definitely dresses like a Yakuza. He has like the fancy clothing and stuff. He has
The
a
shades.
scar. Yeah, he has the shades. He has the scar across one eye. He looks really intimidating. But then if you look at him a little bit longer, that's where he starts to get goofy because he always wears an apron that has a little dog on it.
Yeah.
Because he's a house husband. So he always has an apron because he does, domestic stuff. And the other main character we see a lot, there's two. Apart from Tatsu, the other main character is his wife, and she is a designer. I don't know if she's a clothing designer, I guess.
I think she's a clothing designer.
Yeah,
Wait,
and that's his. Oh, what's up?
I think it's either clothing or she does it's like like it's like a okay, yeah, I think it's like just a clothing designer, I
Yeah, I
think.
don't think she's like a home designer or something. Like they've never been really too
Hmm.
specific. I want to say she's a clothing designer though, even though she works like in an office. But yeah, her name is Miku. And it's really funny because yeah, she's just like this career woman who's like really dedicated, goes to work every day or whatever, leaves him in charge of the household. But she's like really funny because she's secretly an otaku who's like super obsessed with this magical girl anime. Like, have you ever heard of Polycure? I think it's like
Yeah,
it's like a parody of Polycure called like Police Cure, where all the magical girls are also like police officers or something, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, she's the other main character. And then from there, that's where they have a few recurring characters. Like it says, people from his past life. And the one that's the most recurring, that I would say he's almost like the antagonist or whatever you call it, like the third protagonist. His
yeah.
name is Masa. And Masa is an underling from his former gang. He's this guy with bleached blonde hair. And basically he's this young guy that either Tatsu is showing him the ropes about how to do chores around like his own place, or he's helping him with his errands and stuff. He just gets kind of caught up in it.
Yeah.
Then from there, you have other people like his former Yakuza boss and different leaders and enemies he used to have back in the day, and people from around the neighborhood, stuff like that. But as I was saying though, it's just a really fun series because you have this guy who's super intimidating, and you can tell he like did some crazy ass stuff in the past based on how he talks. But it's just him being a house husband. And it's him, like, for instance, like when he talks about he's gonna, for instance, clean the apartment because there's like a bad smell. But the way he talks about it, he makes it sound like when he like would dispose of like bodies, he's like, yeah, he's like, you gotta like take them out and this and that and show them no mercy. And like everything's like he does it with this like enthusiasm that sounds like he's talking about like committing crimes and like getting rid of bodies. But then it's like, oh no, it's just him cleaning the apartment.
Yeah, and then when he'll like smile, he'll have like this face that looks like he's like a psychopath, like the where their eyes are more widened and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a part where he's with a kid and the kid breaks like one of those magical girl figurines. He's like, yeah, like my former boss, he taught me that you need to bury your mistakes like 6 feet in the ground.
Oh yes, exactly.
But you see him literally dig a hole, put the deconstructed like freaking figurine in the ground with its head ripped off. He puts it in the ground and he buries it. And he buries it in a specific way that looks like he's burying a body. And so the thing is, like, when he tells him that, obviously it could be a metaphor, obviously, because it's like it's true. You try to bury your past, the stuff you've done, and it helps to kind of move on and not do the stuff ever again, But it's like, dude, you're literally doing something that you've probably done with bodies before, and your boss probably told you that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
and then same thing when I think he purchased like some new knives or something.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was gonna get to too.
He said we gotta put him to the test, and like he's gonna like stab a body, he's gonna do something crazy.
He's gonna stab the dude, yeah.
And then he just starts cooking, of course.
Yeah, right afterwards he starts cooking, and then the guy like because the guy tried to sell knives, that's why. And the thing is, the guy's watching, he's like, wow, this guy's a good cook. He liked it, he starts crying. But as he's eating with the dude. He says, he's like, yeah, I should like leave because this guy still freaks me out. You look at the picture on the right, he looks like a creep with the knife in the plate. He looks all weird.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, damn, like what the fuck?
Yeah, and then it'll be funny because since he's a house husband, like he's literally home all day while his wife works. Like, he takes care of the house, but that means he also goes and does all the errands. And there's funny because there's some chapters, I don't know if you got to that quite yet, because I know you said you kind of just started. I'm like really deep in, I'm caught up, I think.
Yeah.
There's these ladies around the town. That's funny because he treats them as if they were like Yakuza bosses because they have like an organization. Like for instance, there's like a lady that she's like the knitting lady, and they introduce her with like a little title like you would see in the Yakuza video games with like a little title that says like the name and like what they do and like what they're the leader of.
Yeah. When they show like the spies or the gangs, yeah.
Yeah, like, let's say titles, for instance, like guy, this is his name, and it's like leader of the patriarch of the such and such gang or whatever, stuff like that. Yeah. And introduces all the ladies like that, and it's so dumb. It's about how he wants to get on their good side to join like their little like group club thing, and they like put him through like a bunch of tasks and stuff. But like the way they put him through tasks and the way he introduces them, it's like if he was still like a Yakuza dealing with like these Yakuza bosses, making him do all these tasks and stuff. It's like really
That's so
funny.
dumb. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
I
it's
haven't
just so
got in there. I haven't
funny.
got in there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then like all these like ladies, like he's like almost like afraid of them. Like he messes up, but he's like, I'm sorry. Like take my finger. I know that's like what a good
Oh yeah.
subordinate should do, and just dumb shit like that. It's
Yeah.
so funny.
When he freaks out with his wife, he does that too. Where he'll like get on his knees and he'll like freak out.
Yeah, he'll
Yeah,
be
I've
like,
seen
I'm
it.
sorry, I deserve punishment. Like take my finger or whatever. She's like,
Yeah.
what?
Oh yeah, because that's like their punishment. But yeah, to take off the
Yeah,
fingers.
they lose a
Yeah.
finger. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's not really much to say. There's not really any plot to it exactly. It's just like a lot of, like it says here, a lot of fun comedic episodic scenarios of just different stuff. But what makes it funny is that yeah, it's just this intimidating guy that you wouldn't imagine him doing all these like domestic chores and stuff. And it's funny because he does it with this angle where he everything he does just looks like it reminds you of like actual Yakuza work or like actual violence, but he's like super calm.
Mm, yeah.
The one thing I will say, there is kind of some hint to some stuff about his past. I think like, oh man, it's like really far in. We do see where he was dying in an alley and his wife rescues him and takes him home.
Yeah.
Like when they first met. So it gives you kind of some backstory every so often, but it's like very slow. Like so far, we did see when
Mm,
they met that she like rescued him, but we haven't seen yet like what made them get married or like how they got together. Which I feel like maybe like, I think they're trying to take it slow. Where I wouldn't be surprised if it's like every like 20 to 30 chapters they might give us some like actual more serious stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Because so far they did have that where they showed a part where it's like he was like bleeding out in like an alley. He was all shot up, I think, and his wife. That wasn't his wife yet, but she like rescues him and takes him home. So that's one thing that's kind of interesting because I'm pretty sure that maybe as it continues, I would at least hope that maybe it'll show, why they got together, what made him decide to leave the game, how he left it behind, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And another thing that they haven't said it quite yet, but I wouldn't be surprised, depending on how long this manga lasts. I wouldn't be surprised if they go in that direction. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if at some point, because it's been like so many episodes and so many chapters and stuff, little stories of him just doing domestic chores around the house, and it's funny or whatever. But I feel like if they didn't want to like kind of take the story and forward, I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if at some point they have a kid.
I wouldn't be surprised either. Yeah.
Because I could see a lot of comedy coming from that. Like, okay, they finally have a kid. Once again, though, since she's the one that works, he's the one who's gonna stay home and take care of the kid. I could see a lot of comedy of him being like this like dad having to take care of the kid as he's taking care of like the chores and stuff, and weird stuff with him trying to like take the kid to school, for instance. And I could see a lot of comedy from that. They haven't
Yeah.
hinted that anywhere yet, but I think that would be a good direction for it to go if they showed that, where it's
Yeah.
like number one, I think that's what I would want to see. Number one, I would want to see them give some more of kind of like the backstory and why they got together and stuff. Because he like, definitely
Yeah.
respects his wife a lot, despite being like
Hmm.
this crazy hard ass and stuff. And likewise, she knows about his past. It's not like a secret to her. So I wonder what made them get together. I kind of want to know about that.
Yeah.
And like I said, the other thing that I would like is if they took it where like they have a kid, and I think it'd be really, you can get a lot of comedy out of that as well. So
Yeah. Because so far, they have like the Roomba. They have a Roomba and a cat, and the
yeah,
way he interacts with them is very funny. Where like he'll just like be like, yeah, this and that. He'll like point at them. He'll just act like yeah. He acts like he's in the Yakuza still, but he sounds like more like those anime characters where they like act childish and
yeah,
they
that's what
try
I'm
like
saying.
yeah
That's what makes it so funny because like there's like a hint of violence to stuff, but it's also very like childish and very like imaginative and like really out there.
yeah.
The
So
way
I
he
feel like
acts.
him with his son would be very like weird. Where he'd probably be like, you have to follow my steps, blah blah, and he'd probably do like weird stuff, and the kid's just there, like he just exists.
Yeah, I think it would be really funny, man.
Yeah.
The one thing I'm gonna say, I've been kind of avoiding it. We've been only talking about the manga. Not only does it have the manga, but it does have a live action series, which I haven't seen, but I've heard is pretty good. And it does have a quote unquote anime series. The anime series is really lame though. It's
Why?
basically a motion comic.
Oh, it's one.
Like, I don't even know why they
Oh my
made it.
God.
Like instead of actually making an actual, adaptation of it, It's just basically a motion comic. It's so
So
lame.
so it's like the manga, but then like it just moves and that's it.
Yeah, there's like some added animation here and there,
Oh my
but like
gosh.
very little. Like if I remember, it's even black and white still.
Ah, what
Yeah,
the
so
heck?
that's disappointing. So honestly, I would stick to just the manga, I guess, unfortunately, because yeah, the anime quote unquote isn't that great. Live action TV series might be fine. Like I said, I haven't really checked it out. I've heard good things about it, but I would say right now the main way to, consume the story is still just the manga,
Drew the
basically.
manga. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't think they were gonna go that route.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's like you could have made an actual story. It could have been really good, and then just nope, nope,
It's
nope,
because they
nope.
suck. Okay, it just gets all.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Um, but yeah, that's it, guys. That is the um way of the house husband. I've been wanting to talk about it for a while because I think it's really funny. Maybe I'm not even selling it right, but just trust me, if you like stuff that's funny and it has to do, like I said, with like this guy and seeing how he acts as a house husband despite being super intimidating, check it out. I don't think you're gonna regret it. It's a really fun series, really easy to get into. And I don't know. I recommend it. Do you recommend it?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it pretty like so far. I've thought it's pretty cool. And
And it's so easy to read, right? Like I said, because there's not
yeah,
really
and
any
it's
like
pretty wholesome. It's not like it's like violent or like there's like, any of that crazy stuff that you usually find in other animes. Like it's pretty simple and it's pretty wholesome. There's just like some funny stuff here and there, and that's pretty much it.
yeah, it's funny, it's wholesome, easy to get into. Like I said, it's pretty low stakes, that sort of thing. So yeah, I
Yeah.
would say check it out. Called Way of the House Husband. And yeah, how many chapters are out already? I don't know. I think I'm caught up. Supposedly, if you look at the story, yeah, it says that like 11, I guess. What is it? Not chapters, what do you call them? 11 volumes have been released.
Yeah.
And then in English, they've done 9 of them. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
always look at this stuff online through apps and stuff, but I think I had gone to like chapter like 100 or something.
Oh, damn.
So it's pretty far out. So alrighty, guys. So that is it for the topic of the week. Hopefully, you guys check it out. We definitely recommend it. I think it's a fun time. That aside, though, that brings us to the end of another podcast. Hopefully, we talked about some stuff that interests you guys, some stuff that you guys want to check out, that sort of thing. Um, yeah, that's basically it for this week. I know that I want to be back. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Next week, we're not too sure if we're gonna be back with an episode. We might have to skip. We're not too sure. Because if I
Hmm.
remember, you said that you might have like a family thing going on, right? Like a little trip or whatever for the weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're gonna be gone for like a few days or whatever, that might interfere with when we record. So
Hmm.
next week, guys, episode 20, it might come out. Maybe there'll be no issue, or maybe we might have to skip a week. We're not really too sure yet, but just want to throw that out there. In case we do skip, don't be surprised. It might happen. But if all goes well, we'll record as normal. But we'll have to see. Besides
Yeah.
that, though, we wish you the best. Hope you guys have a good one, and we are out. Bye bye.
Bye bye.